Hi, welcome to this latest episode of CIO Leadership Live. I'm David Binning, Associate Editor of CIO Australia. Joining me today is Pushpant Sandhu, who's the ICT Manager with the Powerhouse Museum in Sydney. Pushpant, welcome to CIO Leadership Live.
Thank you, David, for having me.
It's a real pleasure, sir.
I appreciate that.
Yes, well, we've known each other quite well for some time, of course, and I know that you joined Powerhouse Museum in 2021. I understand at the time there was quite a lot to be done. There was pretty serious underinvestment. You had, maybe not low morale in the team, but a team that needed a bit of motivation. Let's maybe get the ball rolling by sort of talking through, and for our audience, how you sort of began to tackle that big challenge.
Well, I think everybody has got different way of handling the challenges. My way is very simple. I think, first of all, as you said, there were a number of challenges, so you have to prioritize them. In all honesty, I'm a gear in the gearbox here, so I have to work with all the bigger gears as well.
Right.
So I had to engage with my executive team and the stakeholders and prioritize what the challenges are and where they see it as prioritized. Once that is done, then basically it comes down to project management, developing the project and seeing that there's money and the functional requirements. So what are the deliverables are clearly defined. I use Prince2, projects in controlled environment, as my tool. And having done that, you can draw out your project plan and then work with your team and vendors and stakeholders to deliver all this. Becomes quite simple. As I say always, how do you eat an elephant? You chunk it. So I've given you two big chunks, and each chunk can be taken a bit more chunks, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, and the organization itself, the Powerhouse Museum itself, is quite an elephant as far as museums go. It's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, in Australia. It's one of the oldest. So, it's fairly safe to assume that you were having to grapple with quite a lot of legacy equipment, legacy systems, and possibly even legacy attitudes, right?
Absolutely. I think GLAM, that's the museum industry or the museum sector itself suffers from inadequate funding. And I think when the organization itself is not funded well, then the ICT is always seen as a cost center. So it gets thrown back a little bit. Powerhouse Museums suffered the same fate. And also what made things worse was that there was an idea of closing down Ultimo Powerhouse and moving everything to Parameta. That also disturbed the funding purpose here. Mm-hmm. So when I joined, there were many end of line, end of service kind of equipment, for which I built the case, and thankfully to the museum management, I got the funding and we refreshed much of that. Yeah. And that process is still ongoing. So the team, again, the two managers had left when I joined in, and that had basically, they needed somebody to re-energize them and bring in some fresh air. So I took about 6 months working with them, starting up the Kanban work, starting up the day hurdles,
yes,
and asking them to come out for coffee. Some were brave enough to come along. Some just shied away, but slowly everything worked well.
Brave, it's an interesting choice of words. Anyway, yeah.
Yep. So right now, I think I have the confidence of my team. Yep. I love working with them. They're a great team, and although we are a small team, always extended in to the elastic limit where we can go, but still we are functioning well.
Yeah. And I understand that you've grown the team quite significantly as well.
Sure. I brought in 4 new staff members. That's within 1 year, which is quite significant. Like you can say it's about $500,000 worth of investment in human resources, but it was required. And what has happened is this:
you got 4 staff for $500,000. That's pretty good going in the current climate.
It is. It is. It was very difficult. It was not easy. I had to hold many interviews, or rather, go through from one advertisement to second one till the time we found somebody good. But it is there now, and I also had the opportunity working with my chief operating officer, Mark Wilston, to do the planning, future workforce planning. Although he wanted me to do it 2025, I stopped at 2024 because with such a large project, the future cannot be defined to certain certainty, right? So the new architect has brought in some other senior managers into the team. So we will have about 3 more people. So in all, about 7 more staff has been added since the time I joined.
Yeah. So, and that's naturally, as well, of course, as a refreshed technical architecture, you're dealing with a brand new physical architecture. You alluded to it at the top of the show. The new museum that is about to be built in Parramatta for our non-Sydney or Australian residents. It's kind of formerly a big suburb, sort of blossoming into a small city, maybe about 45 minutes drive west of Sydney. Now, obviously, that's a big project that's occupying your time, and I suppose in kind of parallel with that, something that most people should be aware of with respect to museums is you have enormous archives, you have enormous repositories of data, and this has been a big part of your challenge, hasn't it? So I'm sort of bundling all of these challenges together, but you've got the work in actually helping the role that you're playing in standing up a new building, which I understand is a couple of years away from actually opening, but concurrently helping the organisation better manage is quite enormous and nationally critical archives, right?
Absolutely. So, as I mentioned, that the Ultimo Powerhouse was to be closed, and we're going to go black for some amount of time in very near future. So all our collections needed to be moved out of this Ultimo space. So we have Castle Hill as where we are managing our archives. We are storing them there. So they are being moved, and part of the process which the government supported the proposal for Powerhouse Museum was to digitize them. We have got 500,000 objects. So we don't have that big a space anywhere to display them in one go every time, right? And that's how the Parramatta Museum is going to be playing a big function, going to bring in new functionality where the exhibitions will not be running for a year or 2 years. The vision of our Chief Executive Officer, Lisa, is that we will have frequent change in our exhibitions so that we can bring these objects which are lying in the dark, under very well preserving conditions, they will come out and people will have more interest in Parramatta Museum. She expects about 2 million people walking in every year. And I believe she's going to achieve it with the help of all the good staff she has, and it's doable. And so thus comes the technology and the big project. Having said that, to digitize 500,000 objects, we have already digitized 286,000 of them. To preserve that digitized data, we spent smart money into high performance computing. Yes. With 1 petabyte of storage, and that's expandable to maybe 2 petabytes at given time. But right now we are working through that. So in my previous jobs, I've heard big data. So this is my first time when I'm seeing big data. So and it brings many challenges for how you back up, how you store things, what you do. And they all are images, they are not compressible. You can't dedupe them. So the backup is another, it's a different cup of tea than the usual backups.
Yeah. That's interesting you say that, because you were the sort of cloud admin lead for the Faculty of Arts at Macquarie University. I mean, there must have been quite a lot of data there, but I mean, it sounds as though the data you're dealing with in your current role dwarfs it.
Yeah, I will just make a small change. I worked with a project called Malu back at Macquarie University, which was central IT project. and there I had left, but in the initial request for tender and the specifications, I played a strong part. I believe we shifted about 500 workloads out of 2,000 workloads. So that was quite a big project. Yes.
And you've done a lot of work in migrating systems at Powerhouse Museum to the cloud, and in this current capacity as well, haven't you? And as we discussed recently, you're really stressing a buy before you build mentality there, right?
Yes, I think, David, the buy before build mentality came in about 10 to 15 years ago when the .NET Nuke and .NET thing happened, and the intranet came in and everybody was developing applications. I think buy before build has got definitely, let me count 2 or 3 important positive factors for the organization. First of all, any organization, it's not a software development house.
Yeah.
Software is a requirement to run the business, right? And so it's always seen as the cost. So you want to minimize that cost. So why will you bring in a development house? So by outsourcing this development and buying a product which is fit for the industry, larger industry, or not only you, with your minimal functional requirement, you can buy a better product with a lot of functionality, and do away with the development costs. You can bring this, you can deploy this product quickly because you cut down all the development cost, right? And then as you calculate, being a financial manager, what's the internal rate of return? It's always better. So yes, I basically, I have adopted, and I ask everybody to buy before you build, and that's happening. So over here we have got web. So as I said, we are digitizing 500,000 objects, and 287,000 has already been digitized. This data is available on our website. We have to now showcase it to the world, and the web is the way to go. So Powerhouse has listened to my mantra, or the industry mantra here, and we have found the right headless content management system, right Kubernetes tool, which is being provided as a service.
Yeah.
And we are saving money by using something as software as a service rather than building everything here.
And so with this projected 2 million, or probably as far as you're concerned, God forbid, more than 2 million people about to be visiting every year in the next few years once the second museum opens, it probably goes without saying that customer experience is going to be a massive challenge, but it's also going to be a massive opportunity. You're well advanced in a major voice over IP project. I don't hear people talk about VoIP so much these days because there's so much of it around anyway, but it sounds as though there's some fairly interesting applications of it that you're leading with your team.
Yes. So Powerhouse Museum has a hardware Alcatel telephone exchange. Mm-hmm. It has served its purpose well over many years, and it's on its last legs. Like the choice before Powerhouse Museum was either to replace the whole telephony exchange in hardware sense with a new hardware, or to go for SIP exchange in the cloud. We did some calculations, and we found that because we are going to expand in number of organizational different locations. So right now we were a Powerhouse Museum here, and we were only in observatory near bridge. But now we are going to be in 4 places. So suddenly we have to have 4 different exchanges, everything. And the beautiful thing called internet just needs a copper wire going in, and it sorts out all the problems. Yeah. And furthermore, because the SIP exchange is managed by a telco, so we just buy it as a software as a service from them. That's going to happen soon, somewhere around mid-April, if we go on, keep going on track. It has got a dependency on another project. with a domain name change and something. So we need to finish that one first, which is a lung and heart surgery for us. So hopefully we complete that successfully by the end of this month. And then in next 14, 15 days, we'll be moving we'll be shutting down our Alcatel hardware and moving our 700 odd users onto SIP Exchange. It will be a new experience for them. It will be embedded with Microsoft Teams meeting. So it will do away with desk phones, do away with all the copper wire requirements. Again, beautiful network category 6 cables will serve as well. So that it's very exciting. The next 2 projects are very exciting for me.
Yeah. You just slipped in the domain name change very quickly. I'm assuming that's not something that you can expand on at the moment, but is that something that you and your team are working on in Active Directory? Is there some kind of sort of major works going on?
Well, I think I will let my Chief Executive Officer, Lisa, let you tell her about that. I can't expand onto that.
Well handled. Now we couldn't have an interview with the senior technology leader in 2023 without raising the thorny as well as, of course, trendy topic of cybersecurity.
Yeah.
What could you share with us, and what can you share with us with respect to cybersecurity at Powerhouse Museum at the moment?
Okay. Look, I have heard of one of the water cooler movements that Australian government has given up to 2030 for all the agencies and even the large corporations to pull up their cybersecurity posture. And like NSW, we have got essentialate and mandatory 25 requirements to be fulfilled. And I think they want us to be at level 2 at least in the next coming year or so. Thanks to the NSW government, they started the digital restart funding, to which we made an application and we got some about $1 million for it, for uplifting our cybersecurity posture. I'm lucky to have worked with Powerhouse Museum on multiple projects, and this is one of the very good projects. So I was involved with it right from writing the tender, then going through the 38 responses we received, and then selecting one of the advisories to help us out. So I worked on this project from the ISO 27001, fulfilling the requirements if you want to get ISO 27001 certified. It's a journey, but the thing is this: we want to uplift our cybersecurity posture. So, and for that, you need some benchmark. And we could have chosen, it's not me, we could have chosen NIST, but NIST is more in America. In Australia, it's more ISO 27001. So basically, when the decision came, Powerhouse Museum stuck with ISO 27001. And I worked with that, and you fulfill the requirements of ISO 27001 by following the controls and the guideline procedure given in ISO 27002. So we have finished our discovery phase 1, and the report is ready to be submitted to the senior management and executives. And hopefully soon after, we will go for management will decide what they want to do next. But definitely there is a lot of appetite to go ahead and implement the recommendations from the report, and basically deliver on uplifting the cybersecurity posture for the Powerhouse Museum.
Yeah, right. Well, it sounds like you and your team have got a huge amount on your plates for 2023, and certainly a hell of a lot been achieved since you joined in 2021. Pushpant Sandhu, ICT Manager with Sydney's Powerhouse Museum, thank you very much for joining us on CIO Leadership Live.